my fellow Toastmasters. As much as we'd like to think that we live in a bucolic setting, unfortunately the world around us is full of noise. And oftentimes the sources that we rely on to help us cut above the noise, make sense of the noise, only further add to said noise. And unfortunately in today's environment, journalism has contributed to the significant amount of noise that we encounter on a day-to-day basis, and it clouds our clarity, prevents us from making good decisions, prevents us from making confident decisions, and it just makes the future uncertain. And nobody likes to live that way. So today, I really want to share about something that's near and dear to my heart, the importance of good journalism and how journalism, if it's good, can give us clarity, help us to make better sense of the world, help us to make better decisions, help us to make more confident decisions. Now, as much as I'd like to define for everyone what good journalism is, it's really one of those things where you know it when you see it. So it's hard to describe. So today, rather, what I'd like to do is to kind of go into the state of journalism and where I see it headed and how we can support it and facilitate it moving forwards so that we can cut through the noise. So many of you don't know this, but I actually grew up in China. So between 2004 and end of 2014, I lived essentially in China. And I'm Korean, so China is a foreign place for me. I moved there when I was in third grade, loved it. It's crazy out there. It's a different world, it really is. If you haven't visited, I do recommend it. But the interesting thing about journalism in China is that there's really a lack of journalism. So the noise that we hear today living in America, the noise from all the different outlets, when you turn on cable TV and you see all this noise that's hard to see past, in China, it's quiet, kind of bucolic in a sense. That's because in China, journalism is state-run. So the government defines what you can and cannot say, and they dictate what you say and what you don't say. So there's not much to think about. Nobody's yelling at each other on cable television. We're not duking it out on Twitter. But journalists are political operatives in China. And that's one extreme that journalism can fall into, when everything becomes centralized and people define what the truth ought to be and what people ought and ought not to see. Now, even though that sounds peaceful, it's kind of a mass psychosis. Really, it's not a good situation to be in. Even though there's no noise, there's still no clarity. These people still have questions sitting in the back of their heads. And when you talk to normal day-to-day Chinese people, that is the sentiment. They have questions that are not answered, but they don't have an avenue to ask those questions. If they do, they could get in trouble. I mean, like serious trouble. You could disappear in China for asking the wrong questions. But on the opposite end, we have the US, where everyone could be a journalist. You and I, we could go on Twitter today, and I could put in my headline, amateur journalist. And I could start tweeting things, right? And potentially, by the end of the week, I would have amassed millions of followers. But that's just contributing to the noise. Everybody does that. And it's what has caused so many problems to develop. All this polarization. Because everybody has something to say, and we all want to say it at the same time. And it's unfortunate, because there are some good ideas out there. But again, it's so hard to cut through the noise. But I'm confident because the future has something in store for us, and we're beginning to see it. The ground is shifting beneath our feet. Journalism, as we used to know it, is changing. Journalism is becoming decentralized. A lot of the centralized news networks that we used to follow, the CNNs, the Fox Newses of the world, these central repositories of information, they're being broken down. Partly due to the Twitter journalists, but also because people are yearning for truth. People are yearning for journalists to put truth to power again. So now you're seeing all these new types of news outlets pop up all over the place. Some of them, they exist on YouTube. Some of them, they exist on TikTok. And all of these news outlets are challenging what we traditionally understand as journalism. And it's bringing to bear, and it's challenging a lot of the facts and the realities that we think are true. And I encourage everyone, as this momentum gains, as the world of journalism shifts beneath our feet, vote with your dollar. Change who you follow on Twitter. Maybe turn off cable TV and turn to potentially different sources, newer sources, more refined sources of information, perhaps sources that you are not traditionally accustomed to. And hopefully that'll give us some clarity moving down into the future. And 10 years from now, we'll be in a better place. Thank you.